Hola, hola, and buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks, and welcome to another episode of Week in Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentleman Crypto Network. If you don't know, the basic idea is I cover some crypto-related news events that happen between Friday and a Sunday and pop them out 08 Monday morning. And I do a thing where it's filtered as far as no price talk, no looking at the markets, no degen stuff. Sorry, but not sorry. So before jumping into those things, got a couple of house cleaning things to say, and that is one, thank you for the folks who are going through the YouTube stuff or on the Twitter side and discovering, my stuff and the network in general. Thank y'all for paying attention. Thank y'all for interacting in the comments and stuff like that. And then for the folks who've been down for a minute, the warriors, the folks who've been, coming back, I appreciate, I really do. And, we're just going to keep it pushing and getting this thing to grow. We're in the year 2024. And the last thing to say is that I want folks to understand that this particular segment is brought to you by CJ the Smart Guy. He is a certified CPA, and he focuses on cryptocurrencies for the individual as well for businesses. So if you're in that realm and you're trying to cross your T's and dot your I's, might be somebody you want to reach out to as a resource to understand how to play or deal with this ever-changing crypto landscape as far as the IRS sees it. Because there's definitely been some things that have popped out the last couple of weeks that may catch some people off guard. And if you're in American jurisdiction, because you're an American citizen or your business is here or something, this is definitely something you want to go and, cross your T's and dot your I's on. I don't guarantee the results on it, but I do say he is my personal CPA as far as I use him. That's full disclosure. And so there's no kickback. There's no referral link. It's just, here's the link for him. Have a resource to be able to compare and contrast when you're doing your due diligence and who you have as your CPA if you know you've been messing around with this crypto stuff. I'm not even gonna go there. Nonetheless, let's jump into these stories. I got a couple of things, of course, being international as well as local. Some stuff relating to mining, some other things related to Binance, and I feel like I'm seeing some things that I called out with Binance a couple of months back. But let's go into that. All right, here we go. Our first story: U.S. regulators slap 500 fine on Goldman Sachs, says bank failed to identify potential market manipulation. So the short of this story, and why I bring it up, right, is because in the paragraphs as they are, they're talking about going all the way back to 2009 and looking up to last year, 2023, right? But yet the fine is a little bit over $500,000. They're not saying that they're charging them a fine per year of finding that there was like, hey, you guys weren't doing your due diligence. It's the total accumulation of more than 10 years. We're just going to hit you with a $500,000 fine. This is practically a $500,000 fine. So when you like really jump into the numbers and scrutinize stuff, it's like, come on, dog. They made $500,000 in probably a week in one of these years. What is $500,000 as a fine right now? Nobody's getting named. And on top of it, they pay the fine and then they're not admitting to wrongdoing. So here you have it. If this is how Goldman Sachs gets to play, right, when they do wrong, what do you think is going to happen when everything gets into full swing on this crypto thing? Like, it's going to be even more ridiculous. They'll get fined. So look at it this way. If they get fined $1 million, it means they probably made 50x the $1 million. So if they get fined 100 million, they was probably somewhere in the like 900 billion range. So this to me is just like a slap into the face to the public to make it look like, oh, look, we're doing something, and I think it was FINRA that did this. Yeah, it was FINRA. So FINRA is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority department. So yeah, it looks like it's something, but when you actually dig into the numbers, this is just a flash in the pan. And I think that we as citizens of the US and citizens who do not get to directly vote or designate who these people are who work in these regulatory agencies and department need to start like doing real full out accountability things on these departments by doing Freedom of Information Acts and requesting like, how did y'all come to this conclusion? And like everything related to crypto or everything related to other industries that they are supposed to be able to govern over, start asking questions. Like, look what happened when the joint came out with Pocahontas and Gensler, and it turned out they were already communicating back and forth on what the talking points was going to be for the upcoming committee hearing. And she was just softballing him questions, right? So I think that the level of accountability needs to increase. Like the whole thing we talk about, like community policing on this crypto side, we need to get back to doing that on these regulators, y'all. Like we need to get back to doing that on these quote governing agencies and departments, because obviously they not doing what is quote in the public interest. Because there's no way you can tell me with a straight face $500,000 is even a reasonable fine and they still don't have to admit to doing any wrong. Just throwing that out there for those of you who are more into like taking effective actionary things versus just talking about how screwed up the government and things are. I'm just saying that's one of the tools that we have as citizens of this country. Just throwing that out there. Next joint, crypto is bad. Cash still, crypto is bad, question mark. Cash still the primary tool for money laundering, U.S. Treasury report. So let me put some context into this. I probably should have used that as a clickbait title, but I didn't think of it until just now. Basically, the Treasury puts out a report saying that, yes, we have noticed that there is definitely an increase in crypto-related online schemes and scams and Ponzi stuff, right? But at the end of the day, when you look at how much actual money, price point amount is moved in illicit activity, fiat still beats it out. So if anybody remembers, there was a couple of, weeks ago now at this point, that I had brought up that the IRS said the same thing. They realized that going after the criminals wasn't where the money was. It was going after the regular tax-paying people. And I'm not saying these two agencies or departments are necessarily saying the same thing as far as like the fiat and the crypto thing. What I am saying is that the idea to say that crypto is 100% bad and everything is okay with fiat, these two different agencies, through their own internal, examinations and things, have come to the same point of all of the negative talking points for crypto are not what is being pushed in the mainstream. And they, in quiet and in off Main Street news platforms, admit these things, but no one looks to talk about it. I try to catch these things when I do and share them with y'all, but it doesn't mean that everybody paying attention, right? So just, tell a friend to tell a friend, like the U.S. Treasury just admitted, hey, fiat still beats for illicit activity. But yes, we do see an increase in crypto-related illicit activity. It doesn't mean it's beating fiat, though. Just put that in context. All right, next one. Sara Stratoberdha. I so struggled to say this lady name when I first seen it. Stratoberdha. I don't even know how to say it. Sorry, I'm messing up your name. Why did I bring this story up? Because as I've said before about 2024, we're going to see the shifting of personalities and people in certain positions and stuff. And if you don't know, the other day, King and them had covered about this company called Bullish. They took over CoinDesk. Now, there's those of us within the group who have our issues with CoinDesk for various kind of reasons. And in my mind, it's just like, all right, well, what does this really matter? Now, when I first read it, I was kind of reading it through that, like, well, who cares? Because I don't mess with CoinDesk anymore anyway, since they did what they did to with Zay, and then finding out some other things about how they was, doing Reggie. But the way I look at this now, and it's not me saying I'm gonna use them as a news source, but the point of bringing this up is the repositioning of the CEO person. They're changing faces and they're bringing in their person. And again, her name is Sara. I don't even want to mess up her name again. I apologize. But y'all can see this link in the description and you can follow through on it. Definitely looks like she's in the millennial range, age-wise. I'm gonna say she's at least younger than me. And so it makes me wonder, what is CoinDesk planning going forward, and how will Bullish, the parent company now, use it to its advantage going forward? Remember, if you can control people's source of information and frame how they understand topics, you basically control the audience, you control the people, right? And as I've been saying for years, marketing is about how to influence people's position on a topic or subject, whichever way you want to put that one. But it's about being able to influence people's position. It's not necessarily about getting everyone. It's about being able to do it to a desired enough number of people is the point. So nonetheless, yeah, she's a new person. I don't know anything background wise from her. I imagine if you look through her Twitter and stuff like that, you might see some things you agree with, or you might see some things you don't agree with. But that happened, and so it definitely seems like Bullish is going to look to do something with CoinDesk. Does CoinDesk make it for another 2-3 years or up to 2025? I don't know. Does she even sit in the position up to 2025? I'm not certain, but we'll see how it plays out as we move forward in this year. Indicator of what? I'm not certain. I should also add that caveat in there. I'm not certain what the indicator would be for that. El Salvador at Crossroads, IMF. Let me give a break. El Salvador at Crossroads, IMF deal hinges on Bitcoin rejection. Will Bukele forego his dream? So, if you don't know, Bukele, I believe, won the presidency re-election, even though technically he dropped out of the position to use this loophole thing to then be able to re-campaign for the second term. He won it. All of the polls apparently coming out of El Salvador had him as the projected winner, and then the votes happened and he was the winner, right? So now here we are where IMF is still coming to him saying, hey, like, we still have those agreements, and you still haven't rejected Bitcoin. And he's like, well, I'm not going to reject it. And I think, how am I saying this? Because the way that I'm looking at El Salvador is, in my mind, he has arguably positioned himself better than the dude in Argentina who has agreed to, no, I think he did the kick that he kind of thumbed his nose at the IMF, but then he still wanted to mess with the US dollar stuff, and then he wants to privatize the entire economic sectors, all the economic sectors, in like one swoop. So it's a as they would call it, a rip the band-aid method of how he's looking to redo his economics and financing stuff going on within the country, versus what Bukele is doing, where it's like, all right, we're going to go in a very, very different direction. We're not going to follow what the IMF has said, because we know how those deals work out, where once we start messing up on payment, all of a sudden we have to set in austerity measures, and we have to start giving off nation state resources, which he doesn't want to do. Again, the dream is to have El Salvador be like the Western's Latino version of a Hong Kong, right? Does him thumbing his nose at IMF get him that dream? I don't know. But another question I had to ask myself was, does the IMF waving the carrot at him saying, hey, how about we'll give you more money if you don't do it? If you do reject the whole Bitcoin thing, which means all of the stuff that he's done for the last like 3 or so plus years of getting the crypto related people to come in, getting the other investors to come in, getting different things, infrastructure projects and stuff built, he would throw all that out the window to then have to deal with the IMF. But my thought is this: what happens if this pushes him into the direction of the BRICS alliance and is like, listen, I want to do some, bilateral trade stuff, some outside the country, bringing the investment stuff from foreign investors and things on that line, but I'm not going to give up the Bitcoin, and then the BRICS alliance agrees with it? Or what happens if the BRICS alliance is like, nah, you got to give up the Bitcoin too, which would really make me scratch my head, considering what the C state has done in their local market, as well as the international market for them, and then what the R state has done in their local market as far as like the regulatory stuff. I keep saying those two places, the Bear and the CCP, are not anti-crypto. It's just they didn't want to deal with it the way the West was dealing with it. So in my mind, it's like, well, if two of the parent countries in the BRICS are pro-crypto, what happens when a country that's pro-crypto wants to jump in or receive some kind of financial aid package from the BRICS? I don't know, but that's the question running around my mind right now, and I guess we'll see how it goes out, because the way this article kind of frames it is kind of like, I don't like, Bukele's crazy to not accept the IMF deal. Like, everyone's painting the IMF to be the good guy in this situation, and Bukele's not following how smart country leaders operate when dealing with the IMF. That's kind of the sad takeaway for me. But you could disagree with me. Link for this will be in the description. So, and yeah, have your opinion on it, have your take on it for how you understand stuff going on. If somebody's out there from El Salvador in the comments, it's open. Drop a line. I appreciate. Tell me different, right? Sell me on why the IMF is going to be a good deal for them. I'm here for it. Other thing to remember, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a financial advisor. Just kind of been somebody in this thing for a good while, and you see the trends, the patterns, and the behaviors and the cycles when you've been in it for a minute, right? And so this to me is one of those like, I don't know what this is going to lead to, but I think we have seen a number, depending on what you're paying attention to, there have been a number of other indicators that show folks aren't as friendly with what the IMF deals. And Latin America hasn't been really too happy of late with IMF deals, and we see the change happening. Just throwing that out there. On to this next. Genesis agrees to settle case brought by New York Attorney General. Yo, the New York Attorney General is over here flexing muscle like nobody's business right now. And the crazy part is like, folks are paying the amount, right? And arguably it's extortion through legal means, but we're not supposed to say that out loud. This happened, and in my mind, all it does is then bolster the New York AG's office to, flex their muscle more in the American market as well as on the international scene. I don't see this as necessarily a good thing because, again, I always come back to, what do you do when other states start doing this, right? Because like Texas would probably be one, California would probably be another one, Illinois might do something. You don't necessarily hear about their AG offices like that, but they have their moments. And then you also have like the whole district court circuit. New York is on there's the Northern District Court. They flex their muscle. And in my mind, stuff like this, again, as I said before, like you had, like, not before, but I've said this a while ago about Biden's executive order was the dog whistle. Every state is trying to figure out how to get their piece of the pie in regulatory part and stuff, as well as like, how do we keep the money flowing into our coffers? And again, it's at the federal, state, county, and city level. So that's 4 different levels. You're going to eventually run into different hands saying, yo, you got to pay the dues, like to operate here in whatever capacity it is. Some places are looking to protect and encourage business that are crypto related, while other places are looking to, basically be gate guards and strong arm shit. New York is a perfect example. Through and through, pretty much all of the legal and regulatory things that we have seen come out of New York over like the last 8 years has really been strong arming the industry. And hey, I mean, I don't see nothing different. Somebody give me something different. I'm willing to hear it. Comments is open. I'm gonna just leave that one there because that's the basic, short of it. They're gonna pay the money. Granted, the AG is like extrapolating some crazy ass value amount that's like nearly $1 trillion of how much stuff was like in wrongdoing volume money amount. But whatever. The point being is, New York's AG is bullying the space and not just local to the US. But hey, I guess some people got to get better lawyers. I don't know. All right, next joint. Crucial statement made by Simon Mao. Supply will never meet demand. Now, I'm not saying he says a whole bunch of stuff, or at least they don't take a whole bunch of quotes from him. But the reason why I bring this up as an indicator to something that, Zay and King has said earlier in the week and or last week, about how the question once the ETF thing got approved was, are they going to end up doing a 1-to-1? And I'm saying, here's an indicator. Granted, Mao does not work for the Federal Reserve, the Treasury. He doesn't work for any of the American government agencies. He's not working for like a Goldman Sachs or BlackRock or anything. But he's been in the space long enough and has enough influence and money, and his network is what it is, that he definitely is having the conversations to get some idea of how some of these financial firms are looking to move going forward, as well as he's been in the space long enough to be like, okay, if you're telling me that this one Bitcoin or one Satoshi ends up being worth $1,000, it only makes sense when you start manipulating the price point of it based on other derivatives where it's the underlying asset, hence the ETF. So if you say that, all right, in 3 years we see Bitcoin making it to like 2 trillion, it's like, well, how does that work? You can't do that on a 1-to-1 ratio because there's only 21 million, right? So how are you making that value projection? Oh, well, when you add in the other derivatives of how these other financial assets are going to be blah, 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 and the market is going to do this. So basically, you're going to do a whole lot of fuckery. And the underlying asset is going to still be what it's going to be. Because at the end of the day, right? A Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. A Satoshi is a Satoshi. Those things don't move up or down in regards to the accounting process. It's the determining the value of it in USD or whatever other fiat is what goes up and down. So if you don't have a one-to-one market and you're able to break this thing down into Satoshis, guess what, y'all? It's going to be a wild ass ride as this ETF market grows and matures to what the precious metals market look like. And you think that the precious metals market was bad for manipulation? Oh, the crypto, the Bitcoin and crypto ETF market is going to be probably 10 times to 100 times worse. And was it King of them was talking about that the other day? Like, you're going to see it where they're going to flip it where it's like, oh, you own an actual Bitcoin? Like, why would you do that? Like, that's just crazy. And that's how it's going to be sold to the mainstream. I'm already seeing stories pop up. And I think I covered one like a week or two ago about like, you know, it's clumsy to be like, not your keys, not your crypto. Like, oh, that's old thinking. Why would you think like that? Like, why would you want to hold your own keys? That's where we at right now. And folks are going to jump in head first, 2 feet head first on this ETF thing. And it's going to show, like, for the folks who understand, like, do you get the asset itself or do you get the derivative? If you just out here trying to chase price and you don't want to do none of the legwork, then all right, I guess you do. But when you get got because the market flips on you or the business goes under or the regulatory thing changes, you can't blame nobody but yourself because you saw the derivative as having more practicality or value, even though arguably the derivative opens you up for more potential issues. And that's what a lot of people are going to learn. In my small, humble opinion, I'm not saying this as a financial advisor. I'm just saying this as somebody who, like, I think I understand enough of how gold and other precious metals has worked with the underlying asset and the ETF, the paper market stuff. The manipulation is there. Everyone knows it. But we don't call it that. That's the crazy part. And then look at what the different countries have been doing. I'm going to move on this in a minute, but like, look at what the different countries have been doing as far as the CCP, as far as the R state, aka the bear, even some of the Latin American countries, as well as some of the European countries. Folks, or, you know, these nation states are out here, you know, trying to catch as much precious metals as they can. They're not saying, let me get more of the ETF precious metals. They're going for the straight raw asset. It's the same thing on this crypto side. It's the same thing on this Bitcoin side. But folks are going to learn, all right? Yeah. Jumping on to this next one. So this story here, Binance partners with Interpool to enhance global security. I said it before, I 100% believe that Binance International is being positioned and used. Well, one, I think that they're being choked out slowly from the inside as a business. Two, I think it's being used as a proxy front to, proxy to counter the other CCP country stuff, as well as the R state stuff. And then also to be able to watch certain flows of finances through the whole virtual crypto asset networks. And okay, so now, all right, I'm throwing this out there, right? Somebody tell me if they agree with me on this or not, right? Considering that Binance was not an American country, it isn't a C-state country, none of the head people were actually American citizens. Did it make the most sense to target that country to then use as a puppet versus trying to go after Coinbase, which is an American company, which is public, now publicly owned because it, you know, went on Wall Street, it went public. And then like all of the head people are American folks. Was Binance International the perfect layup to make into a financial puppet? Because like none of it's American, right? Like, so the rules don't apply a particular way. And think about this. You have a DOJ person who sits in on everything. Like, how does that work? How is this legal? But apparently everyone's accepting it, right? Like, nonetheless, like this part definitely kind of surprised me as far as them partnering with Interpol, which, I mean, it's not a matter of like, oh, they're not taking on like an Interpol person, but they are now in the network of communication within the Interpol network. So crypto is definitely, you know, pushed up on the radar. And again, to me, indicator wise, it goes to the point of it makes sense to look at Binance as being the, all right, now we can watch stuff going on in the not the Latin American, but the Asian market, the European market, and see how the illicit stuff as far as crypto things are moving. There's another thought I had that I don't remember right now, but like, I don't know, man. It's crazy to look at how this company is being pimped out right now. Like, I'm not saying they wasn't talking to law enforcement back in the day with CZ, but like this stuff now. Oh, and I got another story about something that came out of there, but this just came out again. Binance is like doubling down on being the narcs under this new leadership and how they're interconnected with DOJ. Just my thought on it. All right, so in this story, UK Chancellor faces scrutiny over lobbying allegations. So Phil Hammond, a vocal crypto advocate who served as the United Kingdom's Chancellor of the Esquire from 2016 to 19, may have breached lobbying rules for former minister. Now, I don't remember. Okay, so I think it was last week I talked about this, and I believe it was him. He's doing this for Coinbase. The funny part about this is Coinbase is not mentioned any place in this article. So they cover the story of how, hey, and I think I brought this up too about the whole like, yo, you find the inside man who had the political position, and then you bring him on the team. Like we quote have rules against that here in the States, but like who really follows that? And then the UK, and I think I had said that, like, does the UK have their version of that, right? Apparently they do. But the way that they're covering it in this article, no one is mentioning that Coinbase has anything to do with this, as well as it's more of a, well, we kind of question it. And, like there have been other crypto related people who have been talking to regulators and who are connected to certain companies after leaving the parliament. So like, it's not like a new thing, and like other people have been doing it too, so he didn't really break the rules. And it's just like, all right, well, what the hell was the point of bringing up this story for then? What's going on? I'm gonna say I don't know, and I'm not 100% understanding why they brought the story up, because it doesn't seem like he's gonna be held accountable for anything, at least how this story breaks it down. But it is something to know that other people might not be as forthcoming to announce that they're sitting on board of directors if they worked in regulatory things before. So, because the way that article was written before about it was more like of an announcement of, oh, look who we got on our team, versus the, you get in and then like you don't really say no public, PR copyright stuff. It's just you show up at the meeting and it's like, oh yeah, John's over there. All right, cool, John's here. Then John used to work for blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, he did, but he retired out, and then now we were able to have him come on board and we're going to do some things. It makes me wonder if, as we move forward in this year, as well as, into next year in 2026 and stuff, we'll hear more European names getting mentioned around this lobbying thing. And then you'll probably have a bunch of people who aren't mentioned, which I think going forward, that might be the smarter strategy, is to not make it a public thing. But I don't know how folks are going to play it out. We'll see, right? All right, so this story here, right? From Missouri to Texas, southern U.S. becomes Bitcoin mining hotspot. And so part of what is going on here in this story is basically they're saying Missouri is looking to do stuff to encourage the building of facilities within their borders, right? And what we've noticed so far is that a number of the Midwest and southern states are really moving to encourage the industry to set up shop within their jurisdiction. Because why? It means money to the coffers for the state, right? I had mentioned before that Virginia is looking to do the thing about, hey, if you want to be a mom and pop level, miner, like we're going to, hopefully I forgot what the bill was called, it will pass, and that'll be a thing for Virginia. Not 100% certain, but it was something that was thrown out there. So here you have in Missouri, their thing is like, we need to do things that at the state level, we give the cities and the counties a leeway of being able to do some level of regulatory, framework stuff, but they can't go crazy in doing like the noise ordinance banning stuff. So the states want to bring the businesses in, but then the kickback comes from the cities and the counties being like, oh nah, like we don't want that business here because it's gonna come with this. And from what we see in mainstream news, it's problematic. All right, but like the state wants the money, and if the state's gonna get money, that means the city's gonna get money. That's the way it's kind of being cut. I still think more states, as we move along to the happening, are going to start trying to figure out where they sit on this fence. Some states will see that because of their climate and how their seasons work, it makes sense for how much open land they have to like build it out and have it have some level of utility and function. I think in general too, though, we're going to see a lot more, what's the thing called, data storage spaces being built out. And the mining side of this crypto stuff is going to grow with it. Somebody said something on Friday for the morning show with General Crypto with King and Zay. They're asking the question of like, what do you see the space? How do you see the space moving? Zay made the point like, yeah, the bigger companies are definitely going to step in more. They're going to expand more. They're going to stabilize the industry. Going to stabilize them. I still look at it and go, on the mom and pop side, I think that there's going to be a drop. And then there's going to be a comeback, because once more of the quote masses start really understanding and appreciating what it means to secure the network, as well as what it means to like have the whole P2P ability or verifying your own transactional history and stuff like that. I think that at a certain point is going to bring back the mom and pop side of the space in regards to mining. I'm not saying it's going to be a slew or a whole wave bump push of people, but I think we're going to have a drop and then we're going to have a comeback. And the drop is going to happen after the happening. And then at some point, maybe a year or two down, we'll have a comeback, because there will be other things going on within the financial world, the economic world, the everyday, market, as well as just the crypto space in general, that are going to get people to like understand what the value of securing the network actually means, and how the whole permissionlessness of being able to, you can set up your own node and do this as a non-technical person, that's going to mean something. That's just my take on it. I could be totally wrong. If you disagree, again, comments is always open. I appreciate the pushback. All right. So next joint here, Australia court stops crypto company for not having license. So this story, I don't know if it's just because of how they wrote it, but it basically goes, Block Earner is the name of the company, and they were basically doing, the whole reward program. You give us the crypto, lock it up on our thing, the whole TVL stuff. We'll give you X amount of interest return payback amount out. What their version of the Security and Exchange is saying is like, hey, you guys were doing this, but you were operating without the proper license. Like, you got to remember, crypto wasn't shit. It was just, people who didn't know how to be financially astute, and it was just magical internet stuff that didn't matter. Now, all of a sudden, it was like, oh, well, you guys was operating like this, and y'all made this amount of money. You were an illegal operation because you didn't get the proper licensing. We're going to basically hold all of your money and call this shit a day, and your business is done. That's how Australia's moving. And it's sad that, again, you have it that it wasn't that it was it wasn't, how am I saying this? It was legal. It was made illegal after the fact. Like, and so here you have it that a grown adult over there is telling another grown adult, hey, you can't do this after the fact, and now I'm going to shut your business down, even though before you said my business never mattered and it wasn't shit. So sorry for the folks who are on that platform, because the odds of you getting your stuff back is not looking good. And it's going to be a whole drawn out process of like, who do you turn around and try to sue to be like, well, okay, so the governing agency is saying that they were an illegal operation. All right, fine. But what does that mean about the asset or the capital that I had left on the platform? Now that you shut them down, well, no, they got to go through court, and that's going to be a whole thing to break down. How do we make the initial investors whole who didn't know, or like we had to figure out, well, is there any criminal liability on the initial investors of that platform, as well as is there any kind of criminal liability to the people who participated in the platform's earning or reward program? Like that, that's so sad, man. That's so sad. Anywho, jump on to this next one. So U.S. senators slam SEC for unconstitutional actions against debt box case. And I brought this case up, I think it was in last year where I started talking about it. Basically, the SEC turned around and basically lied to the judge about how they saw certain activity happening on this platform and said, oh, the owners were trying to run with the money. You need to freeze all of their assets, even though that's not what was happening. And so the lawyers for the company pressed to have the whole case dismissed because the SEC's lawyers were not being earnest in how they were conducting the case. I point out, hey, if the head honcho is acting sideways, why would you think the underlings are going to be above board in how they conduct their cases? Like, it's so crazy because it's a simple logic. It really is a simple logic. And it's not me saying that every lawyer of the SEC is a bad person or whatever. It's more so a number of the lawyers realize you have to do certain things that you're not walking away with the L as the lawyer on the case. And it's a funny thing about how incentives align, where you don't have to actually explicitly say things in order for them to align up, where the unspoken message is, hey, make sure you win this case because we're trying to do a gradual step-by-step increment of having it that a number of our cases have gone in our favor, so that when we really start pushing on the industry across the board, when you look back at it years later, you'll see it was an incremental move saying that, well, we won this case in this situation. We won this case in that situation. We won another case over here as it relates to this. And so that's well, of course we have the authority to say what we're saying about this industry. Look at all the cases that we won in these different circumstances, without addressing, well, what were the actual tactics you used to win the case? Was it truly on the merit of the evidence provided by your prosecutory side versus the defense side, versus was it you using legal means to do things that would undermine the defendant's ability to properly defend themselves in a court of law? That's the shit that nobody's addressing. Why? Because it doesn't align with the incentive of how the SEC is looking to move on this industry. That's my short sideways spiel, rant, whatever, on this situation. And I covered this one when it happened, and I was like, yeah, we need to start, again, I'm coming back to it. We need to start doing Freedom of Information Act requests on the SEC for every damn case and every situation that relates to the crypto industry, between them and the Congress folks and like the judges. And because once we start really getting out, like, all right, well, how, like, it's crazy to me. It's not crazy because at the end of the day, like, we have a level of understanding of it's the known norm. Doesn't mean it's the right norm. Doesn't mean it's the moral norm. Doesn't mean it's the legal norm. But yet it is the on the ground practiced norm. Same thing happens in the military. I can tell you that all day. Somebody say something like, oh yeah, but the AR, blah, blah, blah. Listen, you standing in front of the first sergeant right now, and the first sergeant said blah, blah, blah. The sergeant major said da, da, da. And you want to be an AR warrior. They ain't trying to hear you. Because by the time you're going to argue at JAG, what happened? You already going through hell. But anywho, so a couple of senators basically get together and start and write a letter to the SEC about how they acted in this situation. At the end of the day, they're not looking to hold anybody accountable. So in my mind, at least for how it's described in this article, all they're doing is grandstanding. That's it. All they're doing is grandstanding. You'll find a link in the description for this if you want to see who some of the names of the folks are as far as the senators. I mean, I think that, you know, between now and the elections and the 2028 elections, we'll probably see their names pop up and stuff again. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've always been fighting for, you know, the crypto space and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, but really have you? Like, are you just jumping on the bandwagon? Again, that's just my thought process. Disagree with me if you do. It's okay. All right, so here's this next one. Ramp unveils pioneering document-free verification system for crypto purchases in Brazil. All right. I seen this, and the story popped up a couple of times, and it was reworded under different things, but X amount of it was still copy and paste across the different news platforms, right? When I read it, I said, wait. You're using people verifying their tax profile. That's still like I need y'all to understand, right? So most countries outside of the US have some form of a national ID system, and an X amount of that national ID system connects into the taxation system, right? And so here's the idea that if you just directly connect to or use the tax verification system to verify, hey, this is me, I'm going to be on blah 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 platform, you're literally like, when I tell you, I read this and I said, wait, you can't be serious. Like, the level of as far as your financial footprint goes, if you are someone who does not spend through like fiat cash, and you're just doing everything digitally, like, this is like, hey, I'm gonna just open up everything for you. I'm gonna put it all on a full platter. And it like, this screams so much privacy violation. Because the other thing to understand too is, not only did you, like, so what the Ramp network is doing is they're going directly to the tax agency of Brazil and being like, all right, let's directly connect your citizens with this crypto network. Now, I don't know how much of Brazil's population is actually taxed or actually has accounts with the taxation department, because that's another thing that I don't understand in regards to how this article is written and how the other one that I read, they don't really break that part down. But the idea that there's a sizable proportion of the population who has a tax ID number, and you're connecting their real world identity with the tax ID number, this, in my mind, in my little mind, this system is going to run into problems within the next 15 months, guaranteed. And the issue is going to be identity theft, because we already got the deep fake stuff going on, and it's literally, you just, what is it? You have your tax ID number, and then you do like a selfie thing. So they're not asking you for your passport or your driver's license or like a utility bill thing. But this is going to run into identity theft, scams, issues, guaranteed in the next 15 months if it ain't already started. I don't wish nobody to have an identity theft issue, but this is going to be problematic. And I wonder how long are they going to run this program? And was Brazil the beta test market? And where are they going to go next with it? I think Brazil was the beta test market, and they're going to look to push it someplace else. And they're probably selling it to the regulatory side. Like, look, we're getting people documented directly into the taxation system. So that's a good thing for you, because now you can track people and their money activity better, and you can extract your taxes better. But it's going to lead to identity issues. I can almost guarantee that be a thing, because we just seen that there was a deep fake where somebody was able to bypass the KYC process. So this is going to be so problematic, and I'm gonna just leave that one there. As the last, no, that's not the last story. Sorry. All right, so bam, this is the other one. Again, Binance is doubling down on being the snitch network. That's the new name. Binance is the snitch network. Okay, so basically, the co-founder was like, hey, we want to stop insider trading, and we don't want to have it that we have any future potential issues. So if you're an employee of Binance and you get wind of somebody who's doing some insider trading, we'll give you 10K. Now, think about the culture that makes in your work office space. Because now what you like, it eventually leads to the whole, like, are we saying that if the low level people do it, snitch on them, but if like the C-suite level folks do it, how is that going to play out? And this is basically what's going on here, is who are we saying, you could tell on, and you get the investigation done. It's like, all right, that person did it. All right, we're going to hand you 10K. There's no way you're going to give somebody 10K in the office and then it not come out that that person snitched. Like, I don't see how that's going to work out. But that's just me and my thought process. Nonetheless, like, and then they're calling it leaks, but it's literally, hey, if you know somebody's over here trying to do some side deals and we ain't authorize it, like, just let us know and we're gonna investigate and figure out what, and then you get your 10 racks. I wonder if when, like, obviously humans being humans, someone's going to test this situation. Will it be within the next 6 months? Will it be within the next 12 or 15 months? I don't know. But it also makes me wonder, what was the idea of going public with it? Because apparently the Twitter thread was really long that she did about this. Yi He is her name. I might be saying that really, really wrong, but Yi. What was the point? And the other thing is, will other exchanges pick up on this? Will other exchanges turn their office space into a snitch network, as far as like, yo, we'll give you extra days off if you tell on, you know, when Bobby does blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I don't see this as an indicator of other exchanges doing it, but I do wonder what will be the blowback effect of just presenting this as this, and I get the intention, but I don't know if they really thought about the cultural blowback for the Binance workforce. And you also have to remember, Binance is in multiple countries, so it's not, quote, all Asian people who work for Binance. Binance has a sizable footprint in Africa. Not everybody who works in Binance in Africa is African, quote, like Nigerians, Liberians, the people from Ghana, who's in Cameroon, whatever. Same thing, Binance is in Europe. Binance is in Latin America. It's not all of the, like, you see what I'm saying, as far as this is going to be a really weird experiment to watch. And will they be public with when someone snitches and collects their 10K? I don't know. But this is really a head scratcher for me that they went this far. But again, they got a DOJ employee and they now connected to Interpool. So, you know, what can we really say? We'll leave that one there as the last story. I just feel like it's another nail in Binance, yo. I really do. But nonetheless, that's all I got for y'all. Again, these are the things that just scratch my head as far as being indicators, showing trends, showing patterns of how the space is evolving or devolving, depending on how you look at it. And yeah, just another, you know, weekend of crypto, right? So as I say, housekeeping wise, this segment is brought to you by CJ the Smart Guy. Link for his stuff will be in the description. He does the whole free consultation thing. I forget what the timeline is on it. The link for this is in the description. I say this to you in that it's not a referral link. It's not a kickback for me. It's just a, if you're doing your due diligence in researching who your CPA is, this might be a good comparison note for you, right? You talk to somebody who's been doing this for years, and then if he don't work out for you, you find a person you do and compare notes. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you have to use them. I'm just saying, if you're in American jurisdiction, you should probably find somebody sooner or later, right? And yeah, that's it on that part. Last thing being is have a productive over busy day. If you can't have a productive over busy day, at least be in a safe place, in a safe space. And from one human to the next, that's the best that I can wish you. Oh, yo, by the way, shout out to the Simons family. They had me on the other day. I so forgot to say that. I want to say thank y'all. I appreciate, definitely trying to catch up with y'all next month and run through some things too. Heaven knows what's going to happen between now and next month, y'all. And also shout outs to Black Rue. Shout outs to, Zay. Damn, who else was on? Oh, shout out to the Jump Out Girls too. Yeah, like the whole Content Cousins, man, Content Family folks, like 2024, y'all, we're gonna be doing some things. All right, other than that, y'all have a good one.